this contest right here is really something that we've grown to love over the years. This is the 3rd annual hackathon that the Carolina Fintech Hub does. And this year, we decided to do something a little different. We decided to make it about social impact and social good. So we made a call to the region, a call to the community, and we said, Charlotte, if you know or don't know, is 50 out of 50 in upward mobility. That means those folks born into the bottom quintile of poverty in our own community have the least likely chance in the top 50 largest cities across the nation of getting out of that in their lifetime. And that's something that weighs heavily on a lot of us. And we were sitting there and I was watching the Bill Gates Netflix special. How many of you have seen that? A few? So, you know, in that first episode, when he was like looking at the challenge in third world countries about sanitation and said, all of our best minds are not thinking about how exactly toilets could be redesigned to solve a basic fundamental challenge that is literally killing like 12% of children from diarrhea, something that is just impossible for us to imagine here in the United States. So he threw a challenge out to the community, to the universities, and said, figure this out, solve something better there. And that's what got us thinking, well, could we do the same with fintech? Could we ask our brightest minds to come up with thoughts, innovations, ideas, and present them in the form of a multi-stage hackathon and how to impact upward mobility? And we didn't know what to expect. It's the first year we're really doing it in that way. Well, over 170 people applied. Ideas were amazing. And it's not just tech people that applied, it was business people that we paired up with tech people. One person was a CATS bus driver who was like, we know it takes 90 minutes on average for someone in poverty to get from point A to point B in this community, right? That's a huge factor to upward mobility. And this bus driver had an idea on how to make that better. Someone else, a team of previous high school students came together and said, it's expected that there should be one guidance counselor at every 250 students, and it's almost double that here. So they came up with a solution to digitize that experience. So there were so many great ideas. So both of the teams you're going to see are going to either get $10,000 or $5,000, but these are the final two, the best two ideas that we like the most. But we're going to give them each 6 minutes to come up here and pitch what they've built, what they've designed, what ideas they've come up with in front of you as the final two. And then our judges are going to tabulate it, and we're going to announce a winner right now before our time slot is done. First up, we're going to invite to the stage Gig Connected.
So we're using technology to make it easier for community organizations, educators, employers, and individual workers in construction to connect with each other. Across the U.S., about 95% of construction employers have a hard time finding workers, and it's a huge industry. It's a multi-trillion-dollar-a-year industry in the U.S. Here in Charlotte, the top 5 employers do $3.3 billion a year in annual revenue. But let's think about like the normal ways to find workers now. You might use a traditional staffing agency, you might go to a Home Depot parking lot, or you might go on Craigslist, who does $400 million a year in revenue on job postings, a lot of which are in construction and the blue-collar trades. But if you think about those experiences, you have long hiring times, difficult logistics, and I think one of the most important things is a lack of transparency into the workforce, whether or not the worker has the right skills for your job, and whether or not that employer that I'm going to work for can protect my rights or pay me on time or fair wages. And then a lot of those solutions are way too expensive, with traditional staffing agencies sometimes charging between 25% and 200% of worker wage. So we created a mobile web application that also leverages text messaging capabilities for those that don't have a smartphone or a computer. We expanded their search beyond the street corner they're standing on, so you can search on skill sets, job types, and other criteria. We're giving workers more insights into the job details as well. So a worker knows how long a job's going to last, how much money they're going to make per hour, and maybe if they have to provide their own tools. And then we've created this two-way rating system. So now workers have a living and breathing profile that they carry with them to other jobs and make it easier for them to get higher paying wages. And we're also rating the employers because we want to highlight the good worker or good employers in the company, in our community. So thinking about like Certified B certification in the construction world. So Tarek talked a little bit about this, but this is a report, Economic Opportunity Report, and it talks a lot about a lot of things in Charlotte. Affordable housing, education, and social capital. And we believe that we're creating a network that allows you in the blue-collar workforce to create the social capital. I found out about this competition through LinkedIn. Well, let's give those tools to highlight opportunities in education and employment to the blue-collar workforce. So, thanks. Appreciate it.
We are all lucky to welcome to the stage QC Upward.
Right here in Charlotte, we have more people living in poverty than would fill all of our sports and entertainment venues in this city. We are QC Upward. We're using technology, accessibility, data, and empathy as our weapons. We want to match people who have needs with the services they need. And we want to pull people from critical condition to thriving in our community. Today I want to introduce you to the challenges that somebody named Mary has. Mary is recently jobless, so now she is homeless, she doesn't have food, and she has 2 kids. Mary has to find a way to solve these critical needs before she can think about finding a job and before she can think about solving the long-term issue of being in a more sustainable situation. This is what the world looks like to Mary right now in Charlotte. If Mary navigates online to try to find help, she might say, "I'm hungry and poor in Charlotte." After she passes through the restaurant listings, she'll see an article on poverty, and then she'll see Loaves and Fishes. Loaves and Fishes has 20 different locations with daily updates in terms of what they're serving, when they're serving, and each one has their own hours of operation. So Mary has to navigate this, not just for this service, she also has to do it for shelter. And the way this happens is people go, they stand in line, they wait, and they hope for the best. And if they get rejected the first time, they move to the next place, and they hope for the best again. For us, we're building 3 things. For clients, we're building a mobile access, so they can access the service they need when they need it. For the service provider, we have this portal already up and running in Matthews, at the Habitat for Humanity and at the Free Clinic. And so through there, we can determine the eligibility of services. And for Mary, we can help her find out if she's eligible before she ever shows up knocking on doors and standing in lines. For Charlotte, what's really important is the data. So imagine at 5 o'clock on a Friday afternoon being able to determine, do we need more packaged food in this location or do we need more hot meals? We'll have the data to be able to do this. We worked with Stratified to determine what was possible here. We could show in 28026, do we have a housing issue? Do we have a food, clothing, shelter issue, a job issue, and be able to direct the resources accordingly? This is a supply and demand problem. We don't lack for the number of organizations that can help people, and we don't lack for the number of people that want to help. So that's the problem we're trying to solve. The impact of doing all of this, we want to, first off, restore hope. We want to restore hope for Mary and her children. This is a 2-generational problem, right? We talk about breaking poverty, it's always affecting 2 generations. For our team, we want to impact 10,000 lives with 50,000 matches, and we want to do that in 1 year. In Australia in 2016, they launched a mobile access program for homeless people and people living in poverty. 90% of those people had cell phones. 2.42 million searches have been done since 2016. One of the homeless folks was interviewed, and he said, "I learned more in this mobile app in 1 year than it took me 3 years to navigate out in the streets." We can have a huge impact in terms of matching supply and demand to eliminate waste through the process. I want you to think about all the nonprofits that pay $50,000 for an impact assessment report just for their nonprofit, and how many times that's done over and over and over again. We will have the data that won't even be needed going forward. So what does it look like for Mary? So Mary says, "I need shelter and food right now." She can pick as many services as she needs. And as she moves forward, she can specify, "I need this today, I have an allergy, I need served meals, not hot meals." She can, for shelter, then specify whether or not she needs 3 beds or 1 bed. We will take her directly to the service or services that match her. So this is not a generic Google search, this is very specific. Here's how you get there, we'll map the instructions for her. In the case when Mary is ready to look for a job, we'll connect her to Dress for Success in Charlotte. We'll connect her to the Lyft Ride Access Program, which will get her a free ride so that she can get to her interview and not have to pay for it. So Mary's journey starts to look like this. She went from critical needs that have to be met to now an upward trajectory. As she moves through the process, we can start to recommend what happens next. So if shelter has already been addressed for Mary, the next thing she can do is qualified for Section 8 housing. So you could then consider Habitat home ownership. And we believe that's how you lift people from a situation of poverty with critical need to a situation of success over time. For service providers, we'll have a portal where they can determine eligibility, get all the details in one place, never go back to Mary and ask her a second time for the same information, which is critically important. The service providers can be connected together. So instead of having to provide the same information to this one, to that one, to that one, we'll connect the dots for them. We'll be able to have a referral network so that the handoff from one provider to another will be smooth, which is critically important as well. And they'll get the data to be able to manage the staffing and the resources that they have. Friends, we're QC Upward. We want to take Charlotte, North Carolina from worst to first. Thank you.
Hopefully you all got just a little taste of how incredible this program was. And I think that you're just seeing the beginning right now of something that each year I think will pick up more and more steam. And when you think about our best minds in technology and entrepreneurship, focusing on these things, who knows what could be accomplished. And the 2019 champion of the Fix50 Hackathon is QC Upward.